Hi everybody and welcome to Sculpting and Rigging for Film and TV. I am the module coordinator, Jared Embley, and this is just a quick introduction to the module. We're going to run through what I'm going to teach you over the next 12 weeks, or what you're going to learn over the next 12 weeks, and we're going to break down the assignment and how the module will run. Now, I wanted to do a quick introduction and just clarify my position at the university. I am a lecturer at the university, but I'm a part-time lecturer. I'm on something called a .2 contract, which means I work 1 day a week for the university. That is it. So you may find that if you send me an email, send me a message, I might not reply straight away. But I will do my best to be at the end of that email or on Discord or Zoom and support you guys as much as possible. But please remember that I only work for the university 1 day a week. There is no specific day that I work. I usually spread it out, maybe do like 1 hour one day, 2 hours another day, etc., etc. But ultimately, I have a very reduced timetable. The reason for this is because I work in the industry. I work in film and TV visual effects, and I would like to continue to do so. But I also enjoy teaching, and I find that working in the industry and teaching at the same time allows me to keep my learning development for you guys up to date and keeps the curriculum up to date as well. So hopefully it has a positive effect on everybody. So without further ado, what I'll do is get the lecture slides up and running. Welcome to Sculpting and Rigging for Film and TV. Over the next 12 weeks, we are going to research, design, sculpt, and rig our very own prehistoric creature from scratch. So this lecture is just a quick introduction of the unit. I'm going to break down what we're going to learn, the assignment breakdown, when things are going to be delivered, and introduce you to myself, Jared Embley, I'm the module coordinator, and Mark Whitten, the other lecturer on the course. So this module studies the foundation of computer animation and visual effects, focusing on digital sculpting and rigging for film. There's a slight caveat already, actually. When this unit was first designed, it was a year-long unit, and it had a nice even balance of modelling and sculpting and rigging. The university changed the structure of modules a couple of years ago, which meant that all the lecturers had to change their structure of modules, and so I had to sort of chop a large chunk of the rigging portion out of this unit for it to fit. But to be honest, I think it actually works better with a more sort of emphasis on sculpting and modelling than rigging at the moment. So you will have 1 or 2 rigging workshops, but it won't be as in depth as perhaps you may have assumed it would be. It also provides an opportunity for students to develop an understanding of how to develop a computer animation and visual effects project and contextualize it within their own practice and the wider context of their career choice and the industry practice. So basically, that's an academic way of me saying that, this is your own project, and if you've enrolled onto this module, then I'm hoping that you've got an interest in sculpting, modeling, rigging, or just general creature work, and you want to pursue it further. And really, at this stage of your university career, you need to start thinking about, what kind of job are you going to be looking for upon graduation? What kind of area do you want to specialize in? It's expected that students will develop the necessary skills for their self-directed project and embed them in an academic context. Ultimately, our aim of this module is to develop a digital sculpt and rig of a prehistoric creature, but there also needs to be a sort of academic underlying emphasis to it as well, and that's going to be made evident in your research. So that's me, Jared Embley. I am the module coordinator, and a lot of you probably haven't met me before. I was absent last year. I was actually working in Vancouver on the last Pokemon movie, actually. So just to give you some context, I am a visual effects artist. I have 16 years of experience spread across 4 continents working in film, TV and games. I joined the university in 2017 as a part-time lecturer on the visual effects course. I'm a part-time lecturer because I like to work, basically. No disrespect to any of the lecturers at any university in the UK, really, but I personally believe that, in order to teach, you need to continue your own kind of learning and development as well. So, I've built a career working in film and TV, and that's not something that I want to give up all of a sudden. So I balance working at the university with working in the industry. I have mentioned in the previous video that I'm a point 2 lecturer, which means I work 1 day a week. When I'm not inspiring the next generation of graduate artists like yourself, I have my own business set up now where I specialize in character rigging and creature effects. That's kind of my thing, really. And you can see my little thumbnail on the bottom here. One of my crowning achievements was to rig Drogon for the final season of Game of Thrones. We also have Mark Witten. Mark is also a part-time lecturer. He is a very accomplished paleo artist, and all of the little images you'll see scattered on the Moodle page, on this presentation, everywhere, these are all designed and concepted by Mark. Mark is going to help you with your research. He's going to help you to really kind of nail down the creature that you've been assigned. He's going to kind of bring you back from that kind of popular culture Jurassic World idea of what a dinosaur or a traditional dinosaur would look like, and really kind of look at the anatomy and the setup of a creature. And all of this is so important when you're designing a character from scratch. So the aims of this unit: to provide an in-depth knowledge of the software and methodologies required to model effective professional 3D characters. Develop an artistic understanding of anatomy and form and apply these concepts within a digital environment. Give students the skills to design, create and test and maintain complex character rigs through a streamlined pipeline, and provide a service that meets the technical and creative animation requirements. Instill a professional understanding of the processes involved within a studio pipeline when developing characters, sets, vehicles and or props using industry standard software packages. And finally, enable students to develop a wider appreciation of different types of approaches to computer animation. These are the official aims of the module, and they're listed in the handbook and on Moodle. So really, we're trying to expose you to what a creature pipeline really is. For anybody that's interested in going off to become a creature modeler, designing their own creatures from scratch, then this is the module for you, basically. And the official learning outcomes for the module: demonstrate a fundamental understanding of character modeling with emphasis on topology in relation to the animation requirements. So up until now you may have modeled a few things, maybe a few hard surface objects, maybe even some soft surface objects, some organic characters. However, we're really going to sort of hone into that modeling now and make sure that the model is appropriate for animation. We're going to model complex organic characters with attention to shape and form using industry standard 3D sculpting packages. And we'll create a series of varied character rigs that meet both the artistic and technical requirements of the project. Like I said, the emphasis on character rigging is slightly reduced now in favour of getting a proper sculpt. However, we will touch on rigging. And ultimately, we want you to explain the steps and procedures involved in building models and rigs within the context of a professional studio pipeline. So we're going to try and emulate how a creature pipeline would work. And we're also going to develop custom techniques and procedures to meet the creative needs of a client whilst maintaining a technical integrity. There's always that trade-off between efficiency and meeting the brief, and that's something that you're going to always strive for. So this is our syllabus, really. We're going to start off talking about functional anatomy and musculature study. Mark will pick up on that one with you guys. And we'll start sculpting and building a character using reference material. We'll get proficient with 3D sculpting and painting techniques. and we'll learn about what retopologizing is and UV mapping techniques. And we'll also understand how to transfer data between software packages. We'll touch on the core rigging concepts for body deformation, and we'll introduce skin weighting techniques with emphasis on characters. So we've got a lot to cover in a very short amount of time. And this is how it's going to be delivered. So you'll have 7 one-hour lectures. Mark will be present for all the lectures, and then you'll have your workshops with me, and you'll have drop-in sessions if you require them. Drop-in sessions are optional, you don't have to come in. However, if should you need extra help, need to ask a question from one of the lectures or the workshops, they're there for additional contact hours. And in total you should have about 44 contact hours. And the assessments. So you'll have a formative assessment in November. I think it's going to be probably week 18, which is, week beginning the 23rd of November. And then you'll have 3 summative assessments for this module, and they're all due on the same day. And you can see the weighting for these assessments. I'll tell you when the due date is later on. So we've got 40% for assessment 1, 50% for assessment 2, and just 10% for assessment 3. And we'll break these down in a minute. And 2020, what the F is going on? It's going to be slightly different this year, as you may have already guessed. All the lectures, all the content will be up on Moodle on the Monday of each week. So please check Moodle all the time. Each week I will assign you a task, and we'll basically hope to complete that task for discussion for the weekly online meetings, which are scheduled every Tuesday from, I think it's from 10 to 11. 10 to 11 every Tuesday now. So I'll post the links for the Zoom meeting on Moodle. So just jump on, make sure you're there. We only have an hour, so we don't have much time to chat to each other. But obviously, on top of Moodle, we've got Discord where you can ask questions, and we've also got drop-in events as well. Plus, if you want to contact me, just arrange a time and we can have a one-to-one session. And the good thing about Zoom is that I can actually take control of your screen. So if you do have an issue, I can just jump in and just kind of debug it really. So these are the most important things for you to have on your computer really to begin with. LinkedIn Learning. We're going to be accessing LinkedIn Learning. Can everybody make sure they can access LinkedIn Learning by logging in? Just do a Google search for LinkedIn Learning and use your university email or your university ID, the UP ID, and your password, and you'll be able to log in and access all of the tutorials there. I do reference a lot of these tutorials. Discord. Make sure you have Discord in. We already have the course Discord groups, and within that we've also got the module Discord groups as well, so you should all be on there as well, and I have that open pretty much every day, so if you post a message or anything in there, I will see it. And Zoom, obviously, try and use the desktop client, try not to use the browser. I won't be able to take control of your screen if you're using the browser. There just is more functionality using the desktop client. So to summarize this module, in short, we strive to instill with you the attributes to become a professional 3D character modeler and introduce character rigging or creature rigging. But mainly we're all about character modeling. This is what we're going to be living for the next 12 weeks. So what exactly is a modeler? The modeler interprets a 2D image or a reference and creates a 3D representation that meets the technical requirements and the artistic vision established for the project. That's a short line that I came up with. That was kind of the most succinct way I could really describe being a modeler and what it is. But what are the attributes of a modeler? What do we need? So I thought I'd kind of give it some context really and look at some current active jobs. So, MPC at this moment are hiring for modeling. They call them modeling TDs. Every studio will call them something slightly different. MPC, it's modeling TDs. But you can see here that in the job description it says modelers are responsible for creating 3D models which artistically meet the brief but also technically meet the needs of other departments. If you have a passion for modeling and can use Maya, then you want to hear from you, etc., etc. Look at the attributes here. Previous experience with Linux, well, we can just ignore that one for the moment, but knowledge of Mudbox and or ZBrush. This is one of these jobs where they want you to have experience, and you will get the experience, but it's hard for you to get experience working with Linux when we're in a Windows environment at university. It's hard for you to get experience in a VFX environment when you've never worked in a VFX environment. So what we're going to do is just emphasize our knowledge on learning Mudbox and ZBrush. Here's another job advertisement at Framestore. And again, you can see the responsibilities of a modeler. And it also says modelers work closely with texture artists in order to produce models and UVs that meet the specific requirements of a VFX pipeline. So texturing is something that we're going to touch on a bit as well. And I'll come back to texturing later on. But you can see the responsibilities and you can see the essential skills. I've highlighted the most important ones really. Awareness of texture requirements, UV mapping, Maya, all of these really important things that we need to make sure that you are 100% clued up on when you finish this module. So this is the software we're going to use. We're going to use Mudbox, we're going to use ZBrush, and we're going to use Maya. No other software whatsoever. I didn't want to focus on one particular sculpting piece of software because in an industry scenario, most companies will have both Mudbox and ZBrush, and most artists will use either one or the other, and some even use both. It's entirely up to you. I want to introduce these software packages to you so you can kind of get a feel for them yourself, and whichever one you find that you're more sort of attracted to or adept at using, then that's the one you're going to go with. It's entirely your decision. Ultimately though, all of your sculpts will be inside of Maya. We're not going to use 3ds Max or Blender or anything else. It's Mudbox, ZBrush, Maya. That is it. And we're going to focus on industry standards. Character modelers and riggers need to work closely together to design, create, test and maintain character, vehicle, cloth and prop setup. So I'm just going to try and instill in you the idea that a character modeler and a rigger work hand in hand with each other. Modelers need to produce work that meets the creative requirements of the production designer and or art director and or client. But it is just as important that they should satisfy the technical needs of the CG department and be as efficient, reliable, to scale and to be easy to rig and animate. So many times I see models, fantastic models, but they're the wrong scale or they're just poor topology and they just will not work in a VFX pipeline. The idea behind this module is that you're producing high quality models at a very high standard. And riggers collaborate with animators to design appropriate motion controls, often testing extremities of poses through a range of motion tests, ensuring the most efficient and flexible solutions are employed. Once again, we're going to touch on rigging. We're not going to focus too much on rigging. Our main focus is going to be on the sculpting and modeling side of things. However, you might be interested to know that a lot of companies, when they hire modelers, they expect them to be able to rig, and vice versa. In fact, if you were to be hired, say, at Pixar Animation Studios as a rigging TD, you'd also be asked to model things as well. But what will we model? Well, I think you can already guess. I've already spoken about it. And I did briefly mention that everybody has been assigned a creature. And you're probably thinking, well, where is that creature? Well, don't worry, I will come back to that in a minute. So, like I said, not dinosaurs. Try and get out of the headspace of dinosaurs. more prehistoric creatures. So each student has been assigned a prehistoric creature for the duration of the module. You are individually required to research, design and build a photoreal 3D visualization of your assigned creature and include appropriate kinetic examples. Kinetic meaning moving your character. So we want you to design a character rig, and I'd like to see your character in motion. You'll be assessed on your ability to source appropriate research material, the quality of your conceptual designs, the photorealism of your 3D model, and the quality of your final control rigs. So the ability to source appropriate research material means, doing a little bit more than just going to Wikipedia. The quality of your conceptual designs. I don't want to see like quick hand-drawn sketches, that have been rushed. I'd like to see something that has had a lot of time and effort put into it. Same with photorealism of your 3D model. I don't want to see a kind of bust that you've kind of built or a base that you've built from something that's just been hashed together. We're looking for high quality, high detail. This is not modeling for games. This is modeling for films. So there is no restriction on poly counts. Obviously, try and keep it sensible. Don't go off into the 12, 30 million plus poly counts. But I want you to throw detail at this sculpt. And the final control rig as well. And we'll talk about control rigs within the module and why, it is such an important part of the modeling process. The list of creature assignments will be presented at the end of this lecture and made available through Moodle as a PDF document. If you cannot find your name on the list, please contact me ASAP. Don't wait until week 3, week 4, week 5. It's even harder this year with social distancing. I can't actually see everybody, so I don't really know everybody's names. So it could be easy for me to miss somebody off. So please, if you haven't got a creature, contact me. And this is the assessment breakdown and when they're due. So like I said, we've got the formative assessment, week 18, beginning the 23rd of November. Formative assessment is 0%. It means it contributes 0% to your final mark. However, what it does is it informs me of what your final project will be. And if your final project differs greatly from that formative assessment, then you have evidence to me a lack of understanding in how to plan and how to deliver your ideas. So even though it's 0%, it's incredibly important that you're all there for it. Assessment 1 is the 2D concept and research evidence. So, we're looking for individual drawings and research of your character, and there'll be an in-depth explanation of what that is on Moodle. The deadline for that, Wednesday the 27th of January 2021. Assessment 2 has a weighting of 50%, and this is the concept sculpt with turntable. Deadline for that, same date, Wednesday the 27th of January 2021. Students will produce an individual 3D character model of their creature based on concepts submitted for assessment 1. So whatever you've concepted here, I'd like to see a nice turntable here. And finally, assessment 3, character rigging plus performance animation. And you'll notice it has a weighting of just 10%. And that's because the emphasis is on the sculpt and the research. This is the main area. So if you find yourself struggling at the end to really understand rigging and really, you're struggling to get anything put together, don't worry too much. Obviously I'd love for you to develop a perfectly beautiful rig, but if you can't, don't worry. We'll basically make sure that, the concept sculpt and the research evidence are the primary areas of your concern. And you can see again the same deadline, Wednesday the 27th of January. So the concept and research evidence, it's split into two basically. You've got a research summary where you are required to write 500 to 600 words of an illustrated summary of your investigations into the anatomy of your animal. I won't go through the whole paragraph here, but this is on Moodle as well, and you can read it at your leisure. You're also required to produce 2 sets of original drawings of your creature, perspective and orthographic views. So I'm hoping everybody understands what a perspective and an orthographic view is. They should be well researched, carefully produced. Like I said, I don't want to see any slapdash sketches. I'd like to see something that's been thought out and something that you've taken your time in. All these assessments must relate to the learning outcomes, as we've already discussed. So the concept sculpt with turntable, well, it's pretty much as it says on the tin. A concept sculpt in either Mudbox or Maya. That's what I'm looking for. And I'm looking for a turntable in Maya. Sorry, Mudbox or ZBrush, not Maya. And I'm looking for a turntable in Maya. I'm looking for 120 frames. I'm also looking to have a look at the topology and a wireframe overlay of your turntable. Again, don't worry too much if you don't know how to produce that. We will have modules or workshops discussing it. And finally, the character rig. So, using your final model, build a suitable custom control rig ready for animation. Control rigging can be quite straightforward, or rigging can be as complex as you want to take it. Like I said, it's 10% of this module. It's not a big portion of it. Therefore, we're looking for something really basic, but just gives us an idea of, a sense of movement in your creature. And that we want to be evidenced through a performance animation. Again, all of this is on Moodle, and that is going to be your #1 place to start. And again, I'll say it again, submission will be online through Moodle. So everything is through Moodle here. Moodle has a large file submission option, which basically is a Google Drive attached to Moodle, and that's how you'll submit all your files. There'll be no need to, hand in a USB key or burn anything to a DVD or anything like that. It's all going to be online through Moodle. Just to ensure that what you're submitting is in versions of the software that we have at the university. It's not a deal breaker. I've got various versions of ZBrush, Mudbox, and Maya here, but like I say, if we can all try and stick to the same version, that would be great. And when we're doing our animations, can we make sure everything is HD? I've actually got the wrong aspect ratio there. That should be 1920, not 1820. But can I make sure everything's in HD, 24 frames per second, and using an appropriate codec. I personally recommend the H.264 codec, but if you can find something else, please use it. Just try not to send me 2 gig AVIs. It's just going to destroy my bandwidth. So to summarize, these are the assessment dates, so please make a note of these in your diaries. Wednesday, 27th of January 2021. I did toy with the idea of staggering the assignments, as I have done in previous years, but honestly, I think the rigging, the modelling, the sculpting, the concepting, it all goes hand in hand, and sometimes you'll be rigging and you want to make a change to the model, or sometimes you'll be in the model and you're thinking, oh no, I haven't concepted that properly. So it's kind of all evolving at the same time this year. And I'm just going to put down some tips for a stress-free coursework. Always back up your work on Google Drive. Please, 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 always do. You've got unlimited storage on Google Drive. Please use it. Plan ahead. Prepare a Gantt chart if you can. Not at the last minute. This will really help you for next year when you embark on your final year projects. Attend all the workshops for help with Mudbox, ZBrush, and Maya. Attend all the drop-in sessions. You have limited contact hours, so please make the most of them. And lastly, most importantly, ask questions, especially this year. Don't be the silent person in the background. If you don't want to speak up during our Zoom lectures, then that's fine. Just send me a message privately. I'm more than happy to jump on for a one-on-one session anytime. And I thought I'd show you some examples of work from last year, just so you can see the kind of standard that we're hoping to hit. But it's saying the video can't be loaded, so excuse me, I'm just going to come out of here and reconnect my broadband. Here we go, that's better. So this was a student called Reese Sawyer last year. We've got a nice little T-Rex. So you can see some of these are textured, some of these are not. Which one do you think looks better? In my opinion, I think Reese's model is the best because it's got a nice bit of texture to it. And texturing is not a massive part of this unit, but as modelers, the more I look into this industry, the more I see that most modelers are able to texture as well. So to that end, I would like for you to attempt to put basic textures on your sculpts if possible. If you can't, then don't worry, but it really will add so much more to your model. Right, I'm going to just jump back in. I've got a reading list here. A couple of books to order off of Amazon, you know, just standard things, rigging, sculpting, VES handbook, you know, so some good things here. Most of these are in the library as well. There's some really great books here about animal anatomy for artists. For example, Eric Goldfinger here, 2004. This Animal Anatomy here is a fantastic book that I would highly recommend. That's in the library. Animals, Real and Imagined, Fantasy of What Is and What Might Be. Fantastic books to really get your head into. And without further ado, this is the creature list. Like I said, it's on Moodle, so please have a look. If you can't find your name, then please contact me ASAP. I'm going to leave it on the screen for a few minutes, but like I said earlier on, it is on Moodle as well. That's the link at the bottom. And just to prove to you that I'm not lying, this is Moodle for sculpting and rigging this year. A bit more of Mark's artwork. And you can see we've got our introduction here, and there is the creature list. So if you just click on that link, and it will download for you. So that is the lecture. I don't really have anything else more to say. Normally this is the point where I'd say any questions, but obviously I'm just talking to myself at the moment. But if you do have any questions, please contact me. This will go live on Monday. Excuse me. This will go live on Monday, and we will discuss things on Tuesday in our first workshop. Okay? Thank you very much for your time. I look forward to meeting every single one of you, and I look forward to seeing what you produce. Thank you.